began to notice that our daughter was going through some things that caused us to have concern at about the age of 2-3 years old, and that manifested itself in terms of biting, striking out with other children when she couldn't express herself in a way that she felt would accomplish what she wanted to do in a given situation. Part of this, as we look back, of course, is a characteristic of the attention deficit disorder that she had, that her mind was focused on one thing and she would go forward with that, and everything else had to sort of step aside, and that was her behavior. That only got worse, and she would have difficulty by the age of 4, 5, 6 years old in there, particularly having relationships with other children. She loves to take risks and is exciting to other children, and therefore she would make friends easily. But being able to sustain friendships was a challenge for her, which really began to emerge from about 5 years old to 7 years old. There were intelligence tests or behavioral tests that we did outside of school, and then we ran that set of tests about when she was 4, and then again about 8 years old or so. So we, by that point, knew that intelligence-wise she was very normal, but that on certain scales she demonstrated a propensity to, as in one case, be off the charts in terms of her social needs, that she had to constantly be involved with other children or other interactions with people. In terms of diagnosis of those sorts of problems, it's a continuum of diagnosis. It's both, I think, a sense of how we as parents are prepared to deal with a diagnosis, as well as what we see in our child. Because I would say our diagnosis was one that began at probably a year or two old and continued until, and probably continues to exist. Because at different stages, you see different things in your child, and at one point I would have said, oh, it's this issue. At another point, we would change that. So it's taken a period of time for us to decide on exactly what is the problem. One of the challenging things for parents, I think, is to deal with the complexity of all these different diagnoses. And to this day, we don't know that our daughter is either bipolar, or clearly she is ADHD, but the labels don't always fit. Certain characteristics fit perfectly, and the next minute you say to yourself, this isn't the case at all. She just doesn't have these particular behaviors. So not being able to pinpoint that just leaves a parent sort of up in the air, and you begin to understand that you will live with uncertainty probably the rest of your life. Both you will, and so will the daughter.